The next item is public comment. I will just I've been asked to remind everyone to give your comment. Please stand up for the record, just state your name. You have 5 minutes to pretty much say whatever you would like to say. And I think that's it. I know Monty Wells is on the agenda, so we'll start with him and then we'll go from there. Go ahead, Monty.
5 minutes, huh? That'll be quick. My name is Monty Wells. Is there anything else I can say? The reason I want to thank Sydney for putting me on the agenda and for letting me take a few minutes here. The reason I wanted to come to the City Council and talk to you for a minute is to get something on the record that's been going around that isn't true. And hopefully with the public listening, they'll hear it too. I want it firsthand from my voice. So if there's any questions, and that deals with the gun range up on the mountain there. That was built by the water treatment plant that everybody's aware of. There's been some questions raised, some rumors going around that I was the one that had it closed and that my involvement in it and stuff like that. And I just want to clarify what my involvement was with that range. It started when I was notified by one of the Forest Service employees that the city had built a gun range up by the water treatment plant, and that they had determined, the Forest Service had determined that that gun range was on the permit, or on the land that had been permitted to the city for the water treatment. And that the city hadn't come to the Forest Service to get permission to do that. When I was told that by this individual, I had a little bit of concern just because of my past experience working for Wilderness Quest. When my dad ran the business, I was his field director, and my responsibility was making sure that in the field we followed all the regulations and rules that we had to keep our permits with the BLM, Forest Service, and Park Service. And as you know, if you don't, there's several things they can do. They can pull your permit, and then you're out of business. They can fine you. They can do both. They can also criminally come after you if you've done anything to damage something. So when I heard about this, that was my concern. I didn't think they would take the water treatment away from the city. Of course, if they did, maybe that would save us some money and they could run it. But I didn't think that was an option. So I was afraid that possibly they would do an assessment of some damage or maybe even a fine or something like that. So I decided I was going to write a story on it, and I was going to look into it a little further. So I got the first initial report, and I wrote a little, called a teaser, that I put on and said, stay tuned for more. I finally got a hold of the forest ranger, Mike DM, I think is how he says his last name, and set up an appointment with him to go in and visit with him to see what the forest's actions were going to be. At that time, when I got an appointment with him, it just so happened that it was the same day that the forest was meeting with the city to talk about it. So I set up my appointment for after that meeting. And I went and talked to him, and when I went and talked to him, right off the bat I asked him about that, and he said that's not a problem. They weren't looking at trying to fine the city, jerk the permit, anything like that. The biggest thing that he wanted to express was that they wanted to work with the city to find a new place that would be more conducive to what the forest assessed would be a better place, I guess, for lack of better words. And he gave me the list of all the items that the city would have to go through to, or anybody has to go through to have a gun range on forest property. I think he gave one to the city as well. So he gave me that. We had a nice little conversation, but that was pretty much the gist. They just wanted to help try to facilitate this and get a new range somewhere. He did tell me that the city was going to have to shut down the range in the meantime. So after I talked to him, I came over that same day and talked with city manager Greg Westfall, and he confirmed everything that the hope he isn't listening. The Forest Service ranger said to me, and also confirmed that the city was gonna have to close it, that Forrest had asked them, and basically that was it. At that point, I took both stories, put together a follow-up story outlining what had taken place, what the Forrest's stance was, what Greg had told me on what the city's involvement was gonna be, and everybody seemed to be that they're gonna work together to find a solution to this problem and to get it back up and open somewhere, doing something. And I put that story out. At no time have I ever encouraged the Forest Service or any federal agency to close anything. That's one thing you'll never hear come out of my mouth. But I never did that. I was just putting out the information that I was getting and the interviews that I did. And I'm sorry that there's been some confusion, that people think that I don't want to close it. I hate it as much as anybody because I go up there and shoot too. But anyway, I just wanted the city council to know that. And I wanted the people that are listening to know that that was my involvement in it. If they have questions, they can call. Some citizens have called me and talked to me and asked me, and I welcome that. If you guys have any questions, I'm open to any.
Okay. Thanks, man. I know that there has been some confusion there, and I'll be honest with you, the first time I heard anything about it myself, and I actually wasn't even present when they approved it to make it, but first time I heard anything about it was when I read your blog on there, and I almost felt that, I almost got that same impression out of it, like, look what I found, you know, but knowing you, I thought, I don't think that's right, because I knew that you wouldn't be for, you know, closing this down, but that's, I guess it was my initial impression as well, but I think I could speak for myself, but I don't think anyone that knows anything about it knows that you didn't play any role, I don't think, you know, in closing it down, and, you know, it's a very unfortunate thing that happened, and, you know, a lot of it, I think, is negligence on our part, not looking into seeing what needs to be done, and kind of rushed into it, thought, oh, this is a great thing, something the community needs, and we rushed into it, and it's really unfortunate. I really feel bad for Austin Wilcox, who did the Eagle Project, and I really hope that before he leaves on his mission, we can rectify it and get it moved somewhere else that's going to work out good. So, but I appreciate you coming in. Anyone else have any comments for Mike?
Oh, thanks for
All
coming.
right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it. All right, Amy.